Welcome to the show. This is probably the first one, whether we post it or not, or post it first, we will decide. Ironically, the show is about confidence. Within 3 minutes, I shattered Kelsey's confidence. So if you're watching, you can see the look on her face there. Now, this is a meta episode when you think about it in that way. It's an episode within an episode. Confidence comes from competence. Kelsey had this wonderful intro. She has 1,000 good ideas at once. However, I'm a very go with the flow person, and Kelsey's very do. And there's a specific way and version that she envisions how things should be put together. A lot of our conflicts as friends is that I'm very much go with the flow. I have a general idea of where I want to go, but I'm very easy with making things up, improv, as you would. It's irritating to Kelsey, and I can tell. And I thought this would be great as an intro, because I think that's funny. And it's not ha funny, it's just ironic, because the show is about confidence, and you already almost are experiencing a little bit of lack of confidence in this, because you just said, I just feel like you have a lot, and I don't have much. You have a lot to offer. You just haven't gotten there yet. You haven't had the practice, you haven't had the reps. Do you know how many episodes? This is on a different channel. Do you know how many episodes I have done on the Trainer's Wisdom?
You've got to be close to 300.
I'm over 300.
Okay.
And if each episode is 20 minutes, can you do the math quick on how many hours that is? She's a math teacher, if you don't know.
What, 6,000?
So 6,000 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 300.
I'm just feeling like I'm
300 episodes times 20 is 6,000 minutes divided by 60 minutes. So it's like 100 hours. That's a lot of practice for something as terrifying as speaking on camera, speaking with a microphone.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, this is just an audience. And how long have you been teaching for?
8 years.
And how many hours per day?
Let's go with 4.
That's it?
Yeah. Classes are 75 minutes,
Okay.
and I teach 3 of them.
Okay. Cushy job.
That's the amount of time I'm in front of an audience, okay?
Okay,
I
so
spend probably just equal amount of time.
5 days a week, so
Yes.
20 hours teaching a week. For how many weeks in a year, not including March break and summers off? So it's a lot of time off. But realistically, let's say you get like 12 weeks off, so 40. Let's just say 40.
Okay, the school year, yeah.
So 20 times 40.
800.
800 hours. That's 8 times more than what I do in a year. Now,
Yeah.
I have other experience in front of fitness, in front of the first aid. And so I think confidence, and that's what today's topic is going to be all about, is somewhat transferable, but it does take time. So I want the audience to realize that this is going to be a work in progress. We're not going to be perfect from the get-go.
Right. I'm sitting here and I think the issue was, and kind of just, I don't know, the irony here is you arrived and you said, would you like to go for a walk and chat about the idea? And I said no, because I wanted to just be ready to go. Kind of because the last few times we've recorded episodes for yours, I'm just there as a second body, right? You kind of ask me questions, I respond, and there's less pressure for it. Whereas this, I wanted this to be kind of like my thing, but doing it together because I know that I don't have the experience to be able to really start it on my own and the confidence then to put it out. But the irony here is that you asked me and I panicked on a question of what confidence really means to me or what I'm thinking about. And I think it's just being prepared in your own right and feeling like you can do something. And for me, going for that walk and talking out the ideas probably would have been good preparation.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at my notes for a couple weeks since I first wrote them and had this plan. And that obviously was a mistake because the second you turned around and asked me a question, I panicked because that wasn't a question I was expecting to have. I thought that I'd lead into one of my questions.
That's perfectly fine. In the end, this is, if you're listening to this, phenomenal. It's your first episode. You don't even need to post it technically. It's just practice, which is great.
Great, our third
need
practice episode.
I did 10 before I even told people. And you were the first person, if you remember. We were with Sarah, we were with Chris. Post their wedding brunch. I'm like, I actually have a podcast because somehow that topic got. I'm like, I've recorded 10. I recorded 10 from May until October. I didn't all post them all at once, but that was it.
Yeah.
Each one was like 15 minutes, if that. So it's like, then you're like, well, I'll listen if you and I was like, okay, cool, start promoting it. I still don't have that many listeners. And so I don't put pressure on myself for it to be perfect, because the experts who are doing it, they have hundreds of episodes. They also do, a lot of them come from backgrounds of teaching. In reality, if you know Andrew Huberman, he was a Stanford professor.
No, I've not heard of him.
Stanford professor for neuroscience. We should try to get him on the show. He's like top 10 in the world, but that's fine.
Maybe next year's goal.
Stanford professor, like that's who we're competing against. He's like 50. Like he's been doing it for a long, long time. Some of the other top podcasters are comedians. They perform in front of people all the time, right? Then you have someone like Joe Rogan, who technically is a comedian, but I think he's at like 2,000 episodes. Each episode's 3 hours. And he also used to do commentary. I think he still does, but he does commentary for, what's it called? UFC. He also did host a Fear Factor. So he's just so used to it. He was an actor at a time too. And so all of those things just build layers of mastery and skills within different ways. This is about confidence. And confidence is from competence. And if you know what you're doing, you're going to be confident in what you do. And you can fake it until you make it, but at some point you have to make it. And so I want to continue this to challenge you. And maybe the audience gets confident in trying something new or something different. And what I was talking about before we cut, was when I'm teaching in a first aid class or when I'm teaching in fitness. I'll use fitness as the example. Mm-hmm. When I'm working with a client, if they've never done a squat, they are not going to be confident in a squat, let alone handing them 50 pounds. They might be able to do it, but they don't have the confidence to do it yet. So I'm not going to start them off with 50 pounds, 5 pounds.
Right.
And they do it, and they do it 10 times. Amazing. We do it again, we do it again, we do it again. And over time, I'll build them to 50, even if I feel like they can get to 50. What do you do that idea from a math teaching standpoint? How do you do that with students?
Starting off with easier problems, or starting off with something entirely new that they can make a connection to. An example could be, everyone is terrified of algebra, and the second you say that we're about to start algebra, they kind of panic because they just think it's a bunch of things that they don't know. And so sometimes what we do is we start with, instead of actually using the letter X, you just put a box there and then have them figure out what number needs to go in the box. And they realize that I can do that, and guess and check is a really good way for them to build their confidence and like know the math and know what's expected. And then when it starts to get a little bit harder, then they have to look for a new strategy. And that, I think, builds confidence with algebra because they get to see it in a way that's not by its name. And then I get to be the one who surprises them and go, this all was algebra. Or algebra has so many different representations too. It's not just the letters X. There's with the graphs, or you could be doing it with pictures and just making them see the connections between all of them so that they feel confident that no matter what, they can figure it out, because math is really just a game of guess and check and memorizing facts that work to help you find something else later.
Perfect. I think the key thing there is making connections. Mm-hmm. And that's what you even say about what I talk about in my fitness podcast, is you'd make those connections to the real world. Confidence is massive in that. I would do the same thing with my clients, where I make the connections like, hey, listen, if you can do 5 pounds for 10 reps, I have full confidence in you that you could do 10 pounds for 5, right? Then maybe that means you can do 15 for 3. And then we go to 4, and then we add a little more and add a little more. There's a lot of parallels here. When it comes to starting something, just like the podcast, it is so scary to do that first step. So you recognize that you want me here to help along the way. What do I bring to the table that you think would help you with that level of confidence?
The back and forth and kind of guiding in the right direction, and then the fact that you seem so relaxed doing this that then I'm overthinking it. So when I'm feeling like I'm not doing as well, or I can't, it might be something that I can't do. Not saying that everything that you could do, I could do, because I know that I can't, but just the idea that it's not all me, and that if I panic on my own, you can kind of sense it and then steer us in a different direction. And I think that's what then gives me confidence to be able to do this, because I know that in the end, we're really just two friends talking right now. And that was the idea behind the entire podcast, was that we have so much knowledge between the two of us that to be able to bounce back and forth should be an easy thing to do.
Is it a 50-50 knowledge, or are you at 60, am I at 40? Am I at 60, or are you at 40?
I think it depends on the topic. There are some things that you are definitely more knowledgeable about, and then there would be things that I am a little bit. But I think that we're a pretty fair split.
Okay. I'd say it's 51-51.
Great math, Nick.
You're welcome.
Always aim for higher than 100%.
Yeah.
Give it your all end a little bit more.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to the podcast, there are going to be times where you panic, and that's okay. The audience, we're just grateful that they're listening, and we put on a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah. When it comes to the first time, if you can bring yourself back to the first time you ever taught in front of kids.
Okay.
What was that feeling? And I'm talking like as a student teacher.
It feels like so long ago. I would say it was nerve-wracking, but I had a plan. So I'm going to go with my second placement because the first one was more of just observation, and then the teacher would let me do like the 10 minutes or something. But by then I'd already built relationships with the kids. So when I got up, it was showing them something that I knew really well already, and it was just easy to talk them through an example. Versus when I was teaching my first full lesson. That was nerve-wracking because I hadn't done it before. And again, you start by watching the other teacher first and kind of see how they do it. And what I liked was that it all centered around relationships and trying to get to know the people in front of you so that if you make a little mistake, you just own up to it rather than being just a performer at the front who just, I'm the expert and listen to me all of the time. So in the end, it started out where I was nervous. And then by the end of the lesson, I felt really good because I had given them these little key pieces. They were responding to questions. There was interaction, lots of back and forth that I could gauge their understanding and their own confidence with the new topic and with my style of teaching all at the same time. But I think that I felt okay to start it because I had a partner or a teaching associate who was guiding me in the right direction and gave me their plans and said, like, you're welcome to change anything in here, but here's what I would do. And then I took it and ran. And so that first placement, I think I just used their material. So I wasn't using anything vastly different than what the students were used to already because it would have been an 8-week placement. And so I was with them for a while. And then the next time I was in, it was a new semester. So it was a little bit easier to just start out and be like, I want to do things this way, that the teacher then could revert back to their own way afterwards.
Have you had student teachers teach with you?
Not with me personally. You have to have a permanent position to get a student teacher. And so the last few years I have been permanent, but I was also not in the classroom for a bit. So then I never applied to get a student teacher. But that is something that I'd like to do in the near future, just to kind of see what they're teaching them to do, and then also to bring in a different perspective into my teaching. I like feedback a lot. So I have had student teachers in my classrooms that are just there to observe. So they're with another teacher and then they wander around and go like, hey, can you take this person for one of your classes? And then they come in, and most of the time they're sitting down watching what I'm doing. And then I get them involved with the students just walking around helping out where they can. And then afterwards we do a little debrief. Like, what did you think about what I did? If you're ever wanting to come back, you're welcome to come back. But most of the times they're not math teachers. I don't know that I've actually been in a school that had a student teacher in the math program before, which is...
Just because I was going to say, like, I bet you if now you're the mentor, you would see it from that perspective of how nervous they would be, especially if it's like their very first day. I'm also was imagining you as like a teacher, but you know how like kids on their very first day of school, they're so nervous. Like I was imagining you that as your teacher, like just all adult version of like what a kindergartner must feel.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Yeah. And then afterwards, like, it wasn't so bad. I almost shit my pants my first time having to be in front of both fitness and the first aid. The fitness one, I had been a trainer, but to be in front of like 30 people. And I was used to speaking in front of people for a while from the first aid, like 5 years of experience. Oh, this is nothing. I'm like, and you don't want to look stupid in front of people. I think that's where a lot of people have a big fear of public speaking. Do you find to have that fear?
Yes.
Public speaking? Even though you're a teacher?
It depends on the audience. So
this is a great audience that have watching us right now.
Yes.
They're the best.
The only thing, yes, you are, and the audience is the best. The only thing that worries me is that I'm not getting immediate feedback to figure out if I should be changing something or not. Which is why it's great to have you, because If
You're doing great.
If you gave me a look, I can at least tell if I'm going on the wrong track.
Really? You can pick up social cues?
Sometimes. Stop. So that makes me feel like last year I went and presented at a big Ontario math conference, right? And that was my first time presenting in front of really my peers. I had helped out with some presentations in like staff meetings and things before, but nothing was really ever my own idea that I was sharing, or it was more in small groups where I go, this is what I'm doing. If you want to try in your own classrooms, I can help. But then presenting at the conference, the topics that my partner and I had chose felt a little bit too big. So then leading up to it, I had been used to doing presentations where it was more or less on the fly, kind of planned out, but I knew the content and material so well, and I could explain it so well that I didn't really need practice and prep. But then at this conference, it's a bunch of people in similar positions to that I was in, and I knew that everything I'd be doing, they'd judge a little bit harder than they would just a random teacher in their own school board that they went to go see. In the end, as soon as it started and people seemed impressed by the things that we were sharing, it made me realize what we were doing was different than what they've seen elsewhere, and that teaching altogether is on its way to changing. I think we just don't really have good guidance all around to make those changes, and lots of people stuck in their ways, but those are the things that they're confident with. So you can't even try to bash that, because what they're doing is really well. It works for some students, it works for some schools, but
What came first, the chicken or the egg, the teacher or the student?
that's a good question. It has to be the student, and I think it has to be an egg. At some point, there was a little mutation, and all of a sudden, it hatched into a chicken.
And obviously, I'm sure the history of teaching, it's really just a mentor-menteeship. You're getting knowledge and wisdom and how people think from, and you're distilling it down for people who don't have that experience to speed up the learning process. Essentially, that's how I think of it. Like, I'm thinking of like Socrates and Plato. Like, those were teachers, they were philosophers, they had students, and they're trying to give them their experience so the students don't have to go through the same learning pains, and they can assimilate the knowledge quicker, and then it goes to the next generation. Obviously written stuff down, but it'd be as simple as like older dogs teach younger dogs. It's always been in nature that you have the student and teacher kind of relationship, mentorship, menteeship, the dad and the son, right? I believe, I've heard this, but I'm not 100% sure. I want to say it's with cats, that the mom actually teaches the babies how to hunt. But maybe it's like the feline, like maybe it's lions. I can't remember. And there isn't a bit of an instinct, but I think they actually do teach how to, like, there's some animals, maybe it's not cats, but I want to say it's like the feline, that they actually teach their young how to hunt. Maybe it's bears. There is that. So I think that's just naturally in nature that we would be teaching the youth, but we also then learn from our elders. That's what I'm trying to get at. When it comes to confidence, because we'll tie it back into confidence, I think repetition is key. And I think having a bit of a script at first is actually extremely important. I haven't used a lesson plan with teaching in 9 years, but I've been doing it for 12. Even from a fitness standpoint, when people come in and take my class, I know what the workout is, but I'm going to do the same workout next week and the week after, because the way I teach it can be improved. I also then am with the same students for a little while, or the same people taking the class for a little while, rather than it being random. And I think teaching with that in mind and building confidence in that in mind is like, hey, we did this last week, we can do a little bit better. Hey, we did this week, the last 2 weeks, you can do better. So maybe as a teacher too, and maybe in the podcast setting, having that little bit of script will probably help you. They're just talking points. I still typically have them. I think when it is 2 people versus 1 person, it makes more sense, because no one's going to ask me questions.
Yeah.
And I can't bounce things off of people. And I have to have a plan or direction, versus when it's 2 friends talking, which is what you said, that can be great. But I know you want us to keep on topic with confidence.
Right.
Right? But it's okay if it branches off a bit, but as long as it comes back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say yes and no to that. I feel like this episode is really not going to turn into
I'll use it on my.
Oh, great.
Another one for me. Yeah.
Wonderful.
301.
It doesn't feel like it's really turning into confidence, but more of like talking through what this process is to start.
But is that the end of the world?
Only when you're trying to create something with a purpose, right? And I had a plan for what this series is, a variety of topics that I think that we could give lots of ideas on, how I see it in teaching math specifically or just teaching in general, and then how you see it in the fitness world. And then the hope is that the audience responds to some questions that we also ask, or ways for us to provide some outreach and sharing and making an entire community out of this. So it wasn't just a podcast for us to be able to talk about things that connect both of us. Like, I want to be able to connect a wider network of
That's fair.
people. And so then staying on topic with something like confidence, I think we started with me saying that I had guiding questions in case we needed them. My thoughts now are that we go through those questions in an episode like that. Like, if we're talking about building confidence, the questions I had thought out, if you have questions that relate, and then we just kind of go back and forth, keeping answers not short, but more on track with what the question is, because then episodes lead into each other. We have different things to reach out to our audience about. We have things to follow up on, because there are going to be things that you talk about that I want to hear more about, but maybe don't tie to the topic. Sorry, you go and then I will.
So maybe you needed an episode like this just to kind of break the ice. Maybe you needed to realize a little bit more of what you do need for that said podcast. The first episode's never going to be perfect. As you get more episodes, you'll probably will have a bigger audience, and so it's okay to make the mistakes early on, and then you'll build more confidence as we go. We can pivot into anything we want at this point now. Would you want to ask a couple questions? Would you want us to just do another episode?
I think just still talking it out a little bit, because even sitting here, we had recorded an episode like this already.
I know. That's okay.
No, I know. And I liked that one. There were lots of ideas in there. And even I think I told you last week I had a different idea. I don't want to record in the same spot. And then now sitting here on the couch, this is probably partially what contributed to my panic in the first 5 minutes of the other episode, is because I'm looking at this and I don't actually love the way that this looks. But that's something that can be changed. Like, I don't know. But also not everyone's watching the video, so it doesn't even matter what it looks like. But I think back to the podcasts I've listened to, and they do sound put together from the start, because somebody started a plan, they recruited them to a network, they're like, this is what you'll be talking about, and things are required of their hosts before they even start to record. And then it would be putting in the time to actually edit it so that it works better. We could go off on tangents, but maybe that gets edited out and saved as bonus clips rather than just thrown in and then off track. And so that's what I would like to see from this. And I think part of that would be the notes that I have written out, actually printing them out, because I'm also a paper person. You were right to call me out for reading off of the sheet in the first place.
You guys are in for a treat.
Dear.
Just
Save
super
that for
quick
the
and fast,
extra
looking
bonus
down it
one.
like this.
Yeah, but reading it off paper looks a little bit more, I don't know, fine. There's lots of episodes of podcasts on Netflix now, and I swear every host, the one in charge, has a sheet of paper to kind of guide them back where they need to go.
You should get some glasses
or taking
too.
notes. Like, I should be wearing my glasses instead.
Well, then you look more like an authority.
My gosh.
Oh my gosh.
You're right. This was a trial, and maybe that's also why I don't like it. I don't know. But I think this is an awkward
You
setup.
said you love feedback. We're going to use this to call out our audience of Lexi and my mom, two people who are going to listen to it, to give us some feedback. Us.
There we go.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be a great
Yeah.
way to start. And then
Yeah.
there's something we can build off of.
Yeah. Be brutally honest. Kelsey's feelings never get hurt.
How about we just be regular honest? No need to be brutal. I'll already make it brutal myself in my own head.
I know.
But no, this was a good kind of run through. Because even I don't know, I think about things like, this is similar to when I'm teaching. Math has so many connections. I can go in 100 directions. But there are some things where you hint at and then circle back to later. Up until we had this conversation, I wasn't going to cut you off. But then I think that if my vision is that we stick to a topic, I write down something that you start to say.
You know,
Nick, let's save that for another time.
we can put an electric shock collar on me, and then you can just do a little buzz, and I can.
Or even you said that I could use your software too, and I can go in and edit those things out.
Yeah.
And save them for later. It's just a matter of putting the time in for it, and that's something that I've been really bad at for the last few weeks. We've had this idea for a while.
Months.
And I haven't really started it because I know the amount of work that's going to be on the side for me to make a product that I'm happy with.
I don't think you're ever going to be happy with the product. Are you a bit of a perfectionist?
Yes and no. Yes and no. With this, I want to be a perfectionist because I think that the way to get a larger audience is to make connections and get other people involved and try to build community from it. Right? So I don't want to just put it out into nowhere and do nothing with it. I need to put it out and have regular updates.
My problem with perfectionism is it can lead to procrastination because if it's not perfect, you don't do it. But the irony is if not doing it, you don't get better at the craft. I think the right term I heard, I think I did an episode on, is be an excellentist. Excellent.
Okay.
Trying to make it more excellent, trying to make it better each time, because there's no pursuit of perfect, because not everyone's going to like our episode, and that's their loss. But also, like, you can't cater to the masses because then no one's going to like it. There has to be a niche, like you said. And this is interesting. Recently, the AI takes out ums and buts and hmms, which that's great. Now I don't have to be perfect with my speech. However, there's some data now to show that ums are actually very important because some people then view it as a real person because of AI. And so is it really perfect or is it our perception of perfect?
Mm-hmm.
So
even you saying that has given me a new idea where I think we need to talk through the topics.
Like go for a walk before?
No. Oh, well, yes. Have a little bit more of like a review session of what I'd like to talk about. But even that, if this is my idea and I'm trying to make something that people will like I would love for our friends to listen to it.
Yeah, Chris.
But also all of a sudden starting and being like, okay, so we're going to start putting this out every week if we're pre-recording like I wanted us to, and then all of a sudden we have 5 done. And then our friends listen to the first one and go, I don't even know why you would talk about that. Like, I think it might be beneficial to talk through the topics that I have and then get our friends to listen to that little bit and be like, here's what we're thinking for the whole series. Do you have any thoughts on these things already or just the way that this looks, right? Like, this episode would be a perfect one for our friends to listen to be like, I liked this about it, but not that.
And I still think that's a bit of overthinking too. I know you mentioned to me before that you want to have like seasons and have like a bit of a schedule. In the end, how long would you envision yourself podcasting for? How many years? How many episodes? Is this something you'd see yourself to do in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
So I think that my vision would be to kind of start this little network of wisdom and then having other people do it. So
you do want to take on a more producer role.
Yeah, because I think organization and kind of doing things like giving feedback and editing behind the scenes is better. I don't mind being a part of it. It's just that I feel the pressure so much more when it's something that I want to do. Yeah. But I don't envision myself being a podcaster for years in the future.
Okay, and that's fair. I still think it's going to give you great wisdom and insight because I think, for example, if you're a principal and you've never were a teacher, I don't think you're going to make a good principal.
Right. Yes.
We'll end it there.
Alrighty.
Until next time, guys.
Thanks for all the feedback.
Where can you find Kelsey?
We're going to say on the Trainer's Wisdom Instagram.
And are we putting this on the Trainer's Wisdom?
Yeah, it is.
All right.
I would very much like some feedback. So if you do happen to listen to this, my feelings won't be hurt. Please just send a message to the Trainer's Wisdom with a couple of notes. And I would greatly appreciate it.
Me too.
Thanks.
Adios, amigos.